Ayo, be a father. It's not why bother, son. A boy can make a mother, a man can raise one. If you didn't admit it, to stick with it. Don't say it ain't yours, cause all women are not yours. 90% represents a woman that is faithful. Ladies, can I hear it? When a girl gets pregnant, her man is gonna run around. Distance her for 9 months when it's born, he wants to come around. Talking that I'm sorry for what I did. And all of a sudden, he now wants to see his kid. She had to bury by herself and take care of it by herself. And giving her some money for milk won't really help. Half of the fathers with sons and daughters don't even want to take them. But it's so easy for them to make them. It's true. If it weren't for you, the child wouldn't exist. After the schemes, there's responsibility. So don't resist. Be your father to the child.
Peace to the Macadine family and listening audience. I'm Camille Shabazz of Macadine University. Hoping all is well with you as usual. Let me see if I can tag some of my brothers and sisters real quick.
When a brother makes a child and then denies it, thinking that money is the answer, so he buys it. A whole bunch of gifts and a lot of presents. It's not the presence, it's your presence and the essence of being there. And showing the baby that you care. Stop sitting like a chair and have your baby when you're where you are, or who you are. Who your eyes, daddy. Don't act like you ain't, cause that really makes me mad, G. To see a mother and the baby suffer.
My subject is today on, it's entitled The Demolition of the Gods. Speak with a voice of a man. The demolition of the gods. The destruction of that which is known and worshipped as God. We're in a day where everything is laid bare today, and all that brought about confusion and delusion is now in exclusion, if you know what I mean. And you can see basically by the world events and how things are just going like down so fast on every avenue. Whatever thing you can think of, it just appears to be on the downside, you know? And woe to those who are part of the scheme to keep this thing going, to keep it going, to keep people down the wrong path. The preacher, the politician, the teacher, all these so-called leaders of society are the ones heading to destruction. So when I talk about the demolition of the gods, I'm not talking about the destruction or the demolition of spooks and spirits. I'm talking about the demolition of those who are ahead of the game, who are in charge of the scheme, the money changers, the ones who got all the power and the controls. That's who I'm talking to. As they say, speak truth to power. That's what we of Macadine do on a daily. So, in the Macadine, we talk about, and I've been talking about for the last month and a half, quite religiously, about the 6 and the 8. And how we, as human beings, on this earth, in this universe, a shift since 2020 has been quickly and rapidly changing the tide of most of the people on earth, whether you realize it or not. Energies are present that are influencing everybody. Even the fool is being influenced to speak with a wise tongue, even though he still stammers. In the Holy Quran, they call it the Holy Quran. We call it holy because, like most things that are holy, it has holes in it. So we don't never call the Bible holy or some book holy out of reverence. We're calling it holy because it's full of holes, and for the most part, these religious leaders and teachings are full of shite. So, in the Macadine, we teach on the number 8, and the 3 8s specifically being the opposite of the 3 6s. As we know that the number of the beast is 666, we say and teach that the number of Gog, G-O-G, God over all gods, the number of Christos, that they call Christ, is 888. 888. And what's ironic about 888 is that 3 times 8 equals 24, and we're back to 6. Telling you that there's a binary relationship between these two numbers. But it's also a binary relationship between the two natures of what they refer to as good, evil, positive, negative. These things aren't really bad. They're just using one force in 2 different areas, in 2 different ways. So, speaking of 38, the 3 8s, we refer to 38 in Macadine as the 3 8s. And esoterically, that's really what it represents. And chapter 38 of the Quran is called Sad. I guess they pronounce it Sad, but it's supposed to mean truthful God. And ironically, this chapter has 88 verses, or what they call ayats. Now, ironically, all this 88 verses talks about is the fire of hell and the punishment that God, their God, gives on anybody who opposes his will or ideas. That's all it's talking about. You know, and when how many generations we destroyed before them, and they cried out when it was no longer the time for escape. Not one of them but did deny the messengers, therefore my doom was justified. Most of these verses is talking about an angry God killing people who disagree with his ideas or thoughts. But it doesn't tell you how to be what it's talking about. Just like in the book, it has a chapter called The Pen, but the guy, the prophet of the book, couldn't read or write. So how could you talk about the pen when you can't read or write? Just like, how could you talk about God when there's no instructions on how to become that? How could I tell you that you can come to my class and learn about how to fix a car and become a mechanic if I don't know nothing about a car? I can talk about it, but I know nothing about it. And that's basically what Bibles and Qurans and Bhagavad Gitas, Book of Mormons are all about. Talking about something that they give you no instructions on how to become yourself. So, chapter 38. And I want to go into this a little bit deeper because of the mindset of the religious community. And I had came out of the Nation of Islam, as everybody know. I still got the last name. And I kept my last name in what would appear to be a Muslim name for a reason. You know, why would I go back to a slave master's name? Wouldn't that be really defeating the purpose when the whole objective of getting a new surname is to get out of your slave master's name? So I never left that righteous concept alone, because most black men and women of America are still walking around in their slave masters' last names. Simple as that. And that's not a religious thing. That's just a known fact. Most of you are walking around in your slave master's name. And me getting out of religion and leaving Islam wasn't going to make me go back to being a nigger. Simple as that. So, Shabazz is a very, very significant individual, which is why I kept that name. Because Shabazz didn't follow the beaten path of the follower. And I am in that same spirit. I do not follow no Muhammad's. I follow myself and the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that comes to me through my personal efforts. So never go back to your slave master's name. I don't care what organization you was a part of. If you're a Garveyite, a member of Malcolm X's group or whatever, you don't never go back to the slave master's name, because that's the equivalent of a dog returning to his vomit. So there's certain things you just don't go back to when you know better. And like they say, when you know better, you do better. So one of the things that the NOI taught, and they quoted out of the book of Luke, where it says that there will be a sign or signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars. So whatever's going on in the heavens, you will be able to relate that to your God, so to speak. So their Savior, who they believe in by the name of Fard Muhammad, and by the way, Fard is supposedly a name that means one who you are obligated to worship, or else he destroys you. Think about that. One who you are obligated to worship, or else he destroys you. So this one who supposedly came from Mecca, there's a big story about his coming and all that, and he stayed for 3.5 years and just disappeared, never to be heard from again. However, the teachings is that when he came in 1930, it was the same year that Pluto was discovered, the 9th planet in our solar system. So that tied right on in with what they believed in about this man being God / the Lord of the worlds. And they even went so far as to take 19 and 30 and times it. 19 times 30 equals 570. That made it even deeper, because 570 is the birth of Muhammad, the prophet of Arabia, who the Quran came through. So that really lined things up for him. Like, wow. Okay. Fast forward. August 2006. We're in the 8s. Now we're in the age of Aquarius. Fast forward from 1930 all the way to 2006, and 2 and 6 is 8. August, they demote Pluto from being a planet and into being a dwarf. Pluto in 2006, August of 2006, was demoted from a planet to a dwarf. And in a nutshell, that's your religion. And that's religion in a totalitarian state. You're all going down. And from a dwarf, you're going to go to something even smaller than that. I guess that's a midget. You're going to keep on melting like the witch did on the Wizard of Oz. Because the time of religion, the time of lies is up. Man is the center of the universe. Simple as that. Simple as that. And the only way he's going to come out of this state that he's in is to abandon the false educational system and all the religious systems of this earth. Because like I've been teaching you, both books, Quran and Bible, 114 surahs or chapters, which equals 6. The Bible is 66 chapters, which equals 666. They're all stuck on the number 6. Count the number of the beast, 666. The only ones who could get you out of this 6 are those with understanding. The only ones that could take this book and turn it into a chia pet and give it life. Because those who have possession of these books, which for the most part are plagiarized, they don't understand nothing that's in them, especially the numerology. So reduced to a dwarf. Like all religions, they make you a dwarf. A minister means mini-man, a menace to society. Reverends keep you in reverie or in a dream state. Pastors keep you in the past. It's all a game. And once you come out of the game and come into the game changer that we've been talking about, the Macadine, which means to regenerate and then exalt, then you'll be free. And you won't have to be marching and whining and crying for freedom. You'll be a manifestation of it. So, the 3/8. In the Macadine, chapter 38 is entitled The Father. The Father. Woe to those who do not honor and respect their father. And along with that, of course, the mother. But it all begins with the Father, our Father, who art where? In heaven. And where's that heaven at? It's in the mind. And it's up to you to make it a gold mine, a silver mine, or whatever mine you want to make it. The choice is yours. The choice is yours. But as long as you follow religion and its charlatans, those who got to go to a cemetery to get a degree, and then after they get that degree, all they do is ask for money. For, straight tax-free money. I mean, it must be nice to tell fairy tales and collect money. But I'm letting you know that it's over. The jig is up. The jig is up. Religion's time on this planet is up and over. If y'all don't come into a higher understanding, unfortunately, most are going to go out with the ideas and the inconsistencies and imperfections of what is called religion. So hopefully you got something out of this. I'm going to go deeper into it tomorrow because I want to go into who and what is Gog, G-O-G, which I always have written on my shirt. But that's also in a chapter or book 38 of Ezekiel that talks about Gog. And why it is that out of everybody on earth, I'm all by myself proclaiming that man is G-O-G and not G-O-D, which is actually a German word that's actually supposed to have a T at the end. Gott. We call man God over God, God over God, because that's exactly what man is. God over all gods, because we have created 99.9% of that we now worship and adore when the opposite is supposed to be true. So on that note, salute. Have a wonderful weekend. Peace.